Hey, so welcome to the channel. Today, I thought it would be cool if we covered the good, the bad, the ugly for Halo Infinite, the beta. So hopefully you enjoy. Strap in, grab your popcorn, get a blanket, grab a cuddle buddy. I don't care. Um, but yeah, in this video, we're gonna go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Halo Infinite beta. Hope you enjoy. See you soon.
Enemy returns their flag.
So, what's playing in the background is just some footage that I've accumulated while playing the game. It's not really all that important to the actual conversation, but I figured I would do it for your enjoyment. But to the conversation, some good things about Halo Infinite Beta. I'd like to start out with some good things because I don't know, I like starting off the video good instead of trashing on 343. So the good things about the Halo Infinite Beta are it looks really clean. It looks really well polished, and the game feels like a Halo game. Feels very traditional, harkens back to the old days of Halo Reach and Halo 3. So if you're a fan of that era, then it's gonna be fantastic for you. But if you weren't a fan of that era, then it may take some adjusting to figure out what this Halo is. And they've kept some things that worked and some things that haven't. We'll see in the future updates if they intend to include more of that Halo 5 feel. They still have sprint, but it doesn't appear to make you very faster. But they've gotten rid of. They still have the upgrades, the power equipment and the stuff like that. But it feels very traditional. It feels very true to Halo. So that's the good. So, but getting into this, the bad. I don't want to overblow this by any means, but I sometimes I can understand where some people might have some concerns. It's not a concern of mine. I found the game to be truly enjoyable despite this, but it's still really, I could see it being an issue for some people. There are only 4 game modes: Capture the Flag, Stronghold, Slayer, and Oddball. Those are the 4 main game modes. You're not gonna get any more than that. There's a 5th game mode in Big Team Battle only with the power cells, but the way I've found is that people really often don't really prefer to play that way. People leave a lot of the games, and now this is just from personal experience, not to say anything about the game, but it feels like a lot of people leave those games and they aren't as feels like one big team Slayer, except with an added objective of grab these coils, which is a cool concept and I really like it, but it may not be everyone's cup of tea. But some good things about the game, like I said, is that it feels very polished. I've never experienced a glitch. Never. I've put about 10, 15 hours into the game since it came out yesterday, and I have not experienced a glitch once. It feels very well polished. It feels very finished. It feels like they put a lot of work into it, and I'm really excited to see what they can build off of this. I think this is an excellent start to a Halo game. I truly feel as if the game has a huge potential for where it can go and the things that it can do. One of my concerns, so I guess another bad, is that there's limited content, and if this is all that they had planned, if this is it, then I could see there being significant issues going into the future with content. I can see significant issues with the content that this game has to supply. It's going to be the campaign and 4 game modes that get randomly assigned to you. You can't even choose which ones you play. So if you like to play Capture the Flag, well, I hope you get it, because you can't pick it. So that's an issue. That's an issue that I see, and then you're losing out on some of the traditional Halo games like Zombies and Griffball. Not noticeable. They aren't here. So if you're really looking forward to getting some griffball hours in and messing around and having a party time with your friends, it's not going to happen. Not in this iteration of the beta, at least. You're going to have to wait until later iterations, or maybe even the full game, or maybe never. You may never get a griffball, which would be a true shame, honestly, to the Halo community. But only time will tell with that. So we'll see how this development process goes, and if there are any additions to this beta, or if there are any changes that get made during the beta that add more content. But for now, you're kind of stuck where you are. Another one of the uglies that I've experienced is that there's no sound behind you, and it could be an issue on my end. I'm willing to say that it could be an issue on my end, but if you don't see the radar, and if you miss the visual cue somehow, there's a visual cue that shows up in your radial that shows like, oh, where you're taking damage from, traditional FPS target location. But the issue being is that there's no sound from behind you. If you miss that visual cue, you're taking damage from behind you, you're not gonna get it. There's nothing. You're just gonna die. And that's a problem that I've experienced. I'm working on that on my end to see if I can get that fixed, but hopefully it's a my end issue and not a game issue. But we'll see where that goes. That's the biggest issue that I've had with this game. Not the lack of content, because all the games feel very, despite the fact that it's a beta, I understand, and despite that there's only 4 game modes, it feels pretty. Each game feels very isolated, and it all feels like, oh, this game plays out totally different than the last game I played. These guys are really good, and it's going back and forth, or the guys now aren't very good, and we're smashing them. So it does have that very casual gamer feel, which I'm really enjoying after spending several years playing Rainbow and competitive shooters like Valorant. It feels really good to just take a break and just queue with everybody, because it's a mixed bag. Sometimes you get in a lobby where you're all smoking each other, and it's a sweat fest. And other times you get into a match and you're stomping and you feel good. And then there are some matches where the enemy team figures you out. I've had a couple matches now where we were on match point, defeated one round of oddball and we're halfway to winning, and they came all the way back. So I will say the matches themselves feel very good. They feel very solid, and they feel like everyone has a chance to win regardless of the state. Honestly, there's not a whole lot to talk about other than the good, bad, the ugly, other than just it feels like a really good game. I guess something else I could talk about is the lack of vehicles. Something I noticed in Halo 5, and something I kind of liked actually, was the Warzone game mode. Traditional battlefield, hardpoint, stronghold style combat. You get it. You get into the match. It's a big map, and the whole point is to capture and hold objectives. And whoever makes the most points in the match wins. And with Halo 5, you had these in-app purchases where you could get a pack of Halo cards, and what they would do is those cards would be like a Warthog, a Gauze Hog, and say a Scorpion tank. And then in the Warzone game mode, you could go in and redeem those cards. Redeem those cards and redeem those rec packs for those items in game. I don't have any sadly I don't have any footage of that because I don't have access to Halo 5 at the minute. But it felt really good, and it felt like everyone had an opportunity to get vehicles, to play in the vehicles, and to experience that vehicle combat. But in Halo Infinite, I have to be honest, it's really not there. Like you'll get a vehicle every now and then. Warthogs spawn pretty plentifully, but I have yet to see a map with a Scorpion in it. Banshees and aerial vehicles, they have the Wasp from Halo 5, and I'll be honest, they spawn very, very intermittently, and it's not very often that you see one in one of your games. There might be one in the entire game, which is a real shame. I really miss that Warzone style content that just isn't there in in the Halo Infinite beta. So if you really liked the Halo 5 multiplayer and really like playing Warzone, the best that I have for you is Stronghold and Capture the Flag. And even then, that's really not what you're looking for. So the big team battle, in my opinion, feels really lacking as far as the ability to get those vehicles and get that and get those Halo moments where you're rocking over a cliff with a warthog and just obliterating everyone, or in a scorpion tank and no one can kill you. You just don't have those moments in Infinite yet. We'll see where this, like I said, it's still a beta, so we'll see where they go in the development process and see what they choose to add and what they don't add. They still have the voice lines of this requisition is available, so I don't know if that's something they plan on continuing in some iteration, or if they or if that's just a voice line that they picked or recycled. I understand people's concern with the rec packs and how those function, but honestly, I never felt it. I felt as if the rec packs that you got for playing, I think you got one per every 5 matches, and then every 10 matches, you got a bigger rec pack, and so on and so forth. And if you got some kind of accomplishment in the game, you could get even bigger rec packs. So I felt that the whole system was very generous to the free-to-play players. Now, obviously, you could go in and you could buy a whole bunch of rec packs and call it a day, but I felt like the system was very generous and not disingenuous towards the free-to-play players. So that's something that I wish that would come back to some degree, but currently is not in Halo Infinite. But all the maps go into a good. All the maps feel very well designed. They all feel very fair. The only thing that I'll say is that the big team battle maps tend to they're typically like 3 roads that go through the map, traditional like almost MOBA style gameplay, where you've got maps. You've got 3 roads. Typically, there's one through the middle, and then one on each side of the map, and that's how you traverse the map in vehicles. So it gets pretty linear when it comes to that. There isn't really any like Tarkov Woods map styles, where it's just one big open plain and have at it. But it almost feels kind of reminiscent of Blood Gulch. I didn't play a whole lot of Blood Gulch, but I do remember a little bit of it. I'm hoping that I'm definitely hoping that there's some kind of expansion on big team battles, or some news about an expansion on big team battles, because right now I feel like big team battles is one of the weakest parts at the moment, which is kind of weird to say. It feels more strategic, and it feels bigger is all it is. It feels like a bigger 4v4, which is truly a shame, because big team battle used to be something more. You used to have vehicles that you could play around with, and that would spawn fairly frequently, and I feel like everyone would have a chance to get in a vehicle of their choosing. But as it stands now, there really aren't that many vehicles, and the biggest power vehicle you have is the Wasp and the Banshee, respectively. So I do hope they extend the big team battles, and I think that that's one of the weaker parts of the beta. However, on the other side of that, the 4v4 game modes, I feel like are truly very, very balanced, and the game feels very solid at the 4v4 level. I don't think that there's another game right now that beats it at the 4v4 level. It feels very, very solid. It feels very actually, the best way I can describe it is, it feels very competitive. I'm not sure I'm not sure what the Halo Championship Series is going to look like. Of course, I'll bring coverage when that finally gets launched and gets announced. I presume it'll happen after the game is launched in December. But honestly and truly, the 4v4 game mode, I think, is where it's at right now. I think the big team battles is fun to spice things up and change things up a little bit, and just but all it feels like is a big 4v4. It doesn't feel any different than just a 4v4 with more players in it. Which some of you may say, well, Pack, that's what it's supposed to be. It's 12v12. It's more than 3 times the match. But traditionally in Halo, Big Team Battle has felt bigger. It's always felt huge and ginormous. It felt like get a rocket launcher and snipe one of the 3 Banshees flying in the air. Get a Warthog and drive through a line of 5 or 6 buddies who all wanted to push up on you. And it felt like a huge war zone. And I feel like Halo 5 really captured what Big Team Battle should be. And that's what I've always loved about Halo. I've always loved the Big Team Battle. And it just doesn't feel like it's here. Which is kind of a shame. But like I said, it's still a beta, and I still have hope that we will that it will be added onto. I hope that I hope and I pray that this is not the finished product, because it looks good and the mechanics are solid. It just feels very it feels like that this is a good start. There's a lot here for a start, but if this is all they have, if this is all 343 Industries had to show us, then I'm a little bit concerned. But of course, I'm gonna hold that concern off until further announcements of patches and when the game releases. When the game releases in December, it very well might turn into, they'll drop a huge patch with multiplayer and the campaign and a whole bunch of other game modes that that blow me away. And I hope they do. I truly hope they do. But I don't want this to sound like I'm trashing on the game. I've really enjoyed my time. And like I said, it's been out for 2 days. It's been out for 2 days. I'm sure that there is more content down the line. I am positive there's more content down the line. But as it stands right now, I can understand some people's concern that it's going to turn really dry. The game itself is going to turn really dry with not a whole lot to do, which I understand their concerns, and I hope that I hope 343 does something about it. I hope that there's something to be done about it. But yeah, I appreciate you guys coming to my TED Talk. If you have a comment, I'd love to hear what you guys think about the game. Have you played it yet? Have you played Halo Infinite yet? It's free. You should try it at the very least, and try it. So I think that's a good thing that Halo has going for it right now. It's free, and the multiplayer will always be free. So I think that's something that is really good going for it. It's really going to help it as far as the player base and the health of the game overall. Is that the multiplayer is free. The part that's going to give you the most hours is going to be free. I'm not saying that the campaign is not going to give me hours. I love the Halo campaign. I love the story. I will play the fuck out of the story. I love it to death, and it's one of my favorites of all time. I can say fuck because I'm not monetized yet. Haha, get fucked, YouTube. But the story, I've always really enjoyed the story. It means something special to me, and it's been going for 20 years. The Halo story has been going for 20 years. And I've truly enjoyed it. I've read several of the books. Not all of them, but I've read I've read the majority of them. And I've played all the games, watched all the movies. Yeah, there's Halo movies. And the campaign has truly entrapped me, and I love the story that they built. And it's a fantastically well-designed story and lore that goes deep, and I could go on and on and on. So don't get me wrong, I love the there was a long version of me saying that I love the campaign. I think the campaign is going to be fantastic. I think it's really going to show how good 343 has gotten and the lessons they've learned from Halo 4 and Halo 5. But the majority and the longevity of the game is going to be built on the multiplayer, which makes me glad that it's free to play. it's going to be huge for the company, for Halo, for Halo. It's going to draw in a lot of people, and it's going. I think it's going to make this game really something special. But that's the end of my rant. I think I've ranted and raved and rambled too much already, so I think I'm gonna let you go before I get tied up in the story and explaining the story and all that stuff. So hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully you've enjoyed my little is it worth it? And I encourage you to try it out. I think it is worth it. My final verdict: I think it is worth it. At the very least, it's free. You're not out anything other than your time, and you can play a couple matches and set it down until they add a new patch in. So with more and more content. So I definitely think Halo Infinite is worth the try, if not the buy. We'll see about the campaign, and we'll see about what if they include anything for if you bought the game to the multiplayer. Like, for example, in Warzone, if you bought Call of Duty, you get better gun skins, and you can level them up. It's really hard to level up your guns in Warzone. So, like, that aside, we'll see what they add to paying customers versus free-to-players. Let's see if it... I'll do a later review if it's worth the buy. But for right now, I think this is definitely worth the download. Speaking of things that you can do and just undo if you don't like it because it's free, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps push me up towards the monetization limit that I'm going for, and it also really helps YouTube recommend my channel to other people who might enjoy it. So if you love Halo Infinite, if you love Halo Infinite, click the like button, click the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
Almost out of ammo, Spartan. Enemy flag carrier spotted. Flag obtained.
Flag returned. Enemy flag returned.